Hey there, friends. My name is Jim, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about Bob Saget. So, Bob Saget was one of my favorite comedians. I kind of grew up on Full House. I know it's a little bit cringy now, but looking back on it, he was a really funny guy. He was really degenerate and crude in his personal life, but, I grew up with him, and he was, a staple in my household, and it's unfortunate to have him passed away. It was on January 9th he passed away, but recently there's been information that's come out showing a little bit of weird news that I thought we'd have to go over real quick, and you might want to take a look at. So, from People, Bob Saget had catastrophic injuries to his head and was COVID positive when he died, according to the autopsy. Bob Saget died on January 9th at age 65. He was found in his hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando, Florida, by Joelle Goldstein and Chelsea White, February 10th, 2022. So this is about a week ago. Bob Saget's autopsy results have been released. A report from the Orange County Medical Examiner obtained by People on Thursday stated that Saget had likely fallen backward and hit the back of his head. He had fractures to the back of his head and around his eyes at the time of his death. Per the report, the beloved Full House actor had posterior scalp abrasions, subgaleal hemorrhage, which is blood that forms between the skull and the scalp, discoloration in the upper and lower eyelids due to skull fracture, subdural hematoma, which is a buildup of blood on the surface of the brain, and subarachnoid hemorrhage, which is a bleeding in the space that surrounds the brain. For more on Bob Saget, listen to below, blah, blah, blah. Saget was also COVID-19 positive at the time of his death, according to the autopsy. Though Saget did not have any illicit drugs or toxins in his system, the report stated he was taking prescription drug clonazepam, which treats seizures, panic disorder, and anxiety. It's like Xanax, pretty much. Additionally, Saget's autopsy stated that he had cardiomegaly, an enlarged heart, coronary artery arteriosclerosis, and aortic arteriosclerosis. Dr. Roshini Raj, an associate professor of medicine at NYU Langone Health, told People, "This report shows that the skull and brain suffered trauma which led to skull fractures, the bruising of the brain, and actual bleeding in the space around the brain. The blood can compress the brain and cause death. The coroner determined that this trauma was most likely caused by an accidental fall backward." Speaking about the fracture around Saget's eyes, Raj said, "The head hit something hard, and the skull fractures in different places, including the orbits, the part of the skull around the eyes. And that causes bleeding, which compresses the brain. The force of the hit on the head can also directly bruise and damage the brain." The report comes one day after Saget's cause of death was confirmed in a statement by his family. The authorities have determined that Bob passed from head trauma. They have concluded that he accidentally hit the back of his head on something, he thought nothing of it, and went to sleep. No drugs or alcohol were involved. So this is the official story, everything that's come out, even what I'm going to show you after this, and a couple of statements he made before. The official story is that he bumped his head and went to bed. And then he just passed away in his sleep peacefully. He bumped his head, but thought nothing of it, even though he bumped his head so hard he fractured his skull, caused bleeding of the actual brain and bleeding of the area between your scalp and brain. I'd like you to think for a second, if you've ever, gotten up and bonked your head on the door frame, or maybe, you opened kept a cabinet open when you're doing the dishes, and you stand up real quick, and then donk, and, you feel that pain, and it's it's very painful. Now imagine doing that hard enough to cause the part of your scalp that's touching your skull to scrape against it so hard that it bleeds inside. Now imagine doing that so hard that it does that and fractures your skull and bumps your brain against your skull so hard that your brain bleeds. But then you just go to bed afterwards because he thought nothing of it. Sagets Family added that they've been overwhelmed with the incredible outpouring of love from Bob's fans in the week since his death, and that the support has been a great comfort to us, for which we are eternally grateful. Now that we have the final conclusions from the authorities' investigation, we felt it only proper that the fans hear those conclusions directly from us, they continued. As we continue to mourn together, we ask everyone to remember the love and laughter that Bob brought to this world, and the lessons he taught us all. To be kind to everyone, to let the people you love know you love them, and face difficult times with hugs and laughter. So, that's the family saying, story's closed, everybody go home. Bob Saget was a wonderful actor, a great father, yada yada. He died. End of it. That's what I hear anyways. On Thursday, Chief Medical Examiner Joshua Stephanie, MD, said in a toxicology analysis that the actor's death was the result of blunt head trauma. In consideration of the circumstances surrounding the death and after examination of the body, toxicology analysis, histology, and a respiratory pathogen panel, it's my opinion that the death of Mr. Saget was the result of blunt head trauma. His injuries are most likely incurred from an unwitnessed fall. A toxicology analysis did not reveal any illicit drugs or toxins. The night before his death, the comedian performed what would be his final stand-up show outside of Jacksonville at the Ponte Vedra Concert Hall. Saget also shared a selfie following the 2-hour set and praised the really nice audience, adding lots of positivity. So he was absolutely fine the night before. And then you have stuff like this. The Western Journal. Was Bob Saget's death really an accident? Doctor says skull looked like it had been a baseball bat taken to it. And this is by Jack Davis, February 15th, just 3 days ago. The autopsy report on the January death of Full House star Bob Saget is raising some medical eyebrows over the extent of damage it showed to the actor's body. Saget was found dead in a Florida hotel room January 9th, blah, 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 blah. However, the report also revealed that Saget suffered fractures of the back right in front of his skull. This is significant trauma, Dr. Gavin Britz, chairman in neurosurgery at Houston Methodist, told the New York Times. This is something I find with someone with a baseball bat to the head, or who has fallen 20 or 30 feet, he said. And then Dr. Sanjay Gupta spoke up. You may remember him as the gentleman who went on Joe Rogan's podcast and got totally blown the fuck out, as having no idea what he was talking about, and then going back on CNN and pretending he won. Anyways, even he goes out to say, the autopsy, quoting Gupta, reveals more than anything else is this was not a simple bump on the head, he said on New Day on Friday. When you read this autopsy report, this still may be the case, but it was a pretty significant blow to the head, he said. Gupta noted that the significant force is needed to fracture the bones over the eye sockets. Saget's autopsy showed fractures there. If I knew nothing else about what had happened, you would think that maybe this was someone who had fallen down the stairs and had several impacts to the head or been unrestrained in a car accident. So, we go from the Bob Saget had an accident, bumped his head, went to bed, to it looks like he fell 20 or 30 feet or got hit in the head with a baseball bat or got in a car accident. That's how bad the injury was, according to Dr. Sanjay Gupta, normie media doctor guy. And then there was other comments on Twitter, like by this doctor, Dr. Megan Rainey. Hey, in case you missed it, this is not a slip and fall. This is not a minor concussion. This is major head trauma. My condolences to Saget's family and friends. I hope they get answers to what really happened. And that's showing the autopsy findings, which, again, abrasion of the posterior scalp, subgaleal hemorrhage, communicated fractures of the roofs of the orbits, bilateral partial preorbital ecchymosis, bad head bang. And, she gives the warning. It doesn't mean it was intentional. And then Richard Signorelli says, no wrongdoing found. Something doesn't make sense given his severe head injuries. Bob Saget's autopsy report describes severe skull fractures. So it's a lot of people questioning it, and that may be semi-traumatic to the family, but if it was me and my mom or dad had this kind of damage done to their head, and it was just described as they bumped their head and went to bed, I would want everybody talking about it and everybody going, police, figure out what happened. What the hell happened to this guy? It couldn't have just been a bump to the head. It doesn't seem like that makes sense. So do something about it. And that is not what Bob Saget's family is doing. So, Bob Saget's family... Bob Saget's... this is per People. Bob Saget's widow and daughters sue officials to block the release of death investigation records. So it gets another step further in the weirdness. Kelly Rizzo and Bob Saget's 3 daughters are suing Orange County Sheriff and the medical examiner's office to keep the investigation into the comedian's January 9th death confidential. By Olivia Jackiel, February 15th, 2022. So again, this was 3 days ago. Gets a little weirder. Bob Saget's family has filed a lawsuit against Orange County Sheriff John Mina and the District 9 Medical Examiner's Office a little over a month after comedian's death. In court documents obtained by People, Saget's wife, Kelly Rizzo, along with his 3 daughters, Aubrey, Laura, and Jennifer, are suing officials to stop any further release of documents related to the 65-year-old Full House star's death. In the lawsuit filed Tuesday, the Saget family seeks to stop the release of further details about his death at a Florida hotel and keep the investigation confidential, as it, quote, would cause irreparable harm in the form of extreme mental pain, anguish, and emotional distress. So again, I want this to have you put yourself in their shoes if this was your father or your mother or your significant other or anybody in your family or even somebody you know. And you heard this was the way that they died. They were 65, they were healthy, they were happy, they had just done a set the night before. They're internationally renowned happy comedian people. They go bump their head, they go to bed. It looks a lot weirder. I would want them investigating it, but apparently the family thinks it would cause irreparable harm in the form of extreme mental pain, anguish, and emotional distress, meaning it's either going to cause them that, Or do they mean that if we found out what happened to him, that would cause us irreparable harm in the form of extreme mental anguish, pain, and emotional distress? Just a thought. It gets actually one level weirder, though, and that's why I decided to make this video, because I noticed this quote tweet on Twitter by the Independent Opinion podcast, and I'm sure they'll be talking about it, but figured you'd want to take a look and be whatever you think of it, think for yourself.
And I know you love to also pepper in movies because you love the movies, and of course I love movies too.
Pepper in movies. I like live for movies.
Yeah, right. But as I said, I absolutely love movies as well.
You love 5 movies. You love Big Lebowski every day. You could watch Big Lebowski 4 times a day.
The Godfather, Wayne's World, Godfather 2, Goodfellas, Casino, Scarface. But
so I don't have long to live. These are your favorites. I'm going to be found dead in bed.
You better watch out. But
so I don't have long to live. These are your favorites. I'm going to be found dead in bed.
You better watch out. So
a little weird, kind of apropos of nothing. I get the joke. I mean, because those are her favorite movies and they're mafia movies. But that was 3 months prior to him passing away, dead, being found dead in his bed. His family thinks that releasing that information will cause either them or us, somebody, extreme mental pain, anguish, and whatever. Extreme mental pain and anguish. So, tell me what you think. Comment below. Please like, share, subscribe. Feel free to support me in the support links below. And I'll see you guys next time.